You see, anger is loud. It demands attention. When you lash out, welcome back to MindShift, where we explore the invisible forces that shape our lives. Today, we're talking about something that hides in plain sight, the addiction to your reactions. Now, when we talk about addiction, most people think of substances, alcohol, nicotine, drugs. But there's another kind of addiction, one that's often overlooked, the addiction to our own emotional reactions. Anger, validation, outrage, even the satisfaction of being offended. Think about it. How often do we react before we reflect? Someone cuts you off in traffic, and you instantly go from calm to furious. A social media post triggers you, and suddenly you're in an argument. You feel justified, even righteous, but are you actually in control? Here's the truth, we're not just reacting. We're chasing those reactions. And like any addiction, it gives us a temporary high, a sense of power, of being right, of being seen. That dopamine hit, it's real. And our brains love it, but the cost? It's steep. We lose perspective. Relationships suffer. Our peace of mind becomes collateral damage in the war we're constantly fighting, not with others, but within ourselves. So why do we do it? Because reactions are familiar. They're fast. They're easy. And somewhere along the line, we started mistaking reactivity for authenticity. But authenticity isn't about reacting, it's about responding. It's choosing presence over impulse. Clarity over chaos. Breaking this cycle starts with one question: what am I really reacting to? Is it the moment, or a memory? A value, or a wound? Pause. Breathe. Notice the space between stimulus and response. That space is where growth lives. Addiction to your reactions is not your identity. It's a habit. And habits can change. They don't fear your anger, they fear your indifference. Now you become their punishment without lifting a finger. Let's sit with that for a moment. When you raise your voice, when you let someone know just how deeply they've hurt you, they know they still have power. They know they still matter to you, but indifference. That's silence. That's peace. That's the absence of needing to explain, prove, or correct. It's the moment when your energy no longer orbits their chaos. And that is terrifying to those who once thrived on your reaction. When you become indifferent, you're no longer playing the game. You're not engaging in the back and forth. You've stepped out of the arena entirely. And that silence, it screams louder than any argument ever could, because now, they realize, you've moved on. You're healing. You're not holding grudges, you're just no longer holding space for them. And the door you once left open is now closed, not with bitterness, but with finality. Indifference isn't cold. It's clear. It's knowing that your peace is too precious to be spent on people who never protected it. You're not punishing anyone, you're just prioritizing yourself. And for some, that is the greatest consequence of all. So when they look at you and wonder why you're not angry anymore, why you're no longer reacting, they begin to understand, they've lost access to you, and without saying a word, you've said everything. When you vanish, they obsess over your absence, counting days, creating imaginary dialogues. Silence burns louder than revenge. It makes you unpredictable. And dangerous. There's a strange power in walking away without explanation. Not out of spite, not to manipulate, but simply because you've outgrown the noise. You stop justifying. You stop arguing. You stop trying to be understood by people committed to misunderstanding you, and when you disappear, that's when the real storm begins, but not around you. Within them. They check your status. They reread old conversations. They wonder if you're angry, hurt, healing, or completely over it. They fill the silence with assumptions, rehearsing conversations you'll never have. In your presence, they could predict you. In your absence, they can't place you. And nothing unsettles the ego more than unpredictability. You didn't block them. You didn't explode. You just vanished. No drama. No closure. Just quiet. And that silence, it echoes louder than any argument ever could, because silence says, I no longer owe you my energy. It says, you no longer have access. It says, I'm not playing anymore. People think revenge is loud, explosive, a final word. But true power doesn't perform. It detaches. It chooses peace over performance, healing over proving a point, and in that stillness, you rise, not as a villain in their story, but as someone they can no longer reach. So remember this, your silence is not weakness. It's a strategy. It's strength. It's the loudest enough you'll ever say. People like control. They want to be the reason behind your breakdown. But when you give them nothing, you break them. It's uncomfortable to admit, but it's true. Some people aren't looking to connect, heal, or grow. They're looking to control. And the easiest way to control someone? Get a reaction. Push their buttons. Trigger their insecurities. Make them doubt themselves, just enough to pull the strings. They don't just want you upset, they want to own your emotional state. They want to stand at a distance and watch you fall apart, just to prove they had the power to do it. Your anger feeds them. Your pain validates their ego. Your breakdown becomes their silent victory. But here's where the story changes: when you don't engage, when you don't yell, or plead, or collapse into the chaos they're used to, when you give them nothing. You flip the dynamic. Because now they're left with their own emptiness. No reaction. No fuel. No power, just silence, and that silence, it's not just quiet, it's confrontation. Because when you refuse to fall apart, you force them to face the truth: they never had control. You were always the one with the power, they just convinced you otherwise. Detachment isn't indifference. It's clear. It's choosing your peace over their drama. And ironically, the moment you stop trying to prove anything is the moment you prove everything. So remember, the strongest move isn't always to fight. Sometimes, the strongest move is to disengage completely. Let them wonder. Let them spiral. Let them break, alone. They don't talk about it out loud. But they feel it, your absence. It lingers in every corner of their world. Not loud. Not obvious. Just undeniable. They try to move on. Try to recreate the energy you brought. The presence. The depth. The edge, but it's never quite the same. They laugh, yeah. But it doesn't hit like it used to. The room feels colder. The conversations are thinner. The joy. Forced, because you weren't just someone who filled space, you changed it. You made them feel something deeper. Realer. Sharper. Now you're gone, and that absence, it's not just a hole, it's a void. A reminder. A silence that screams, and they try. They really try to act like it's all good. But every moment of shallow laughter, every fake smile, it's haunted by the ghost of your authenticity. See, when you walk away, people remember, not always what you said, not always what you did, but how you made them feel, and when you were there. They felt it. That fire. That depth. That rawness. You were the storm in their calm. the truth in their lies. The mirror they didn't ask for, but needed, so now they sit in your absence, trying to replace the irreplaceable, trying to laugh like before, but the sound is empty. Let them. Because your value doesn't disappear when you do, sometimes, it only becomes clear once you're gone, so walk away if you have to. Step back. Go silent, and watch how the world fumbles without the peace they didn't know they depended on. Because of your absence, it's not a weakness, it's a weapon. Your absence is a void they can't fill. They won't say it, they'll pretend everything's fine, they'll still post the smiles, still crack the jokes, still act like the world keeps turning the same way it always did, but deep down, they know something's off. You were the gravity that held that circle together. The spark that gave meaning to the silence. The presence that made them feel alive. Now you're gone, and they try to laugh, but it doesn't hit like it used to, not because the jokes changed, but because you're not there to react, to vibe, to bring it to life. There's an energy missing, a truth they can't replicate, a fire they can't fake. They'll act like they don't care. Like your absence doesn't echo through every moment. But the truth, they feel it when the room gets too quiet, when the laughs fade too quickly, when the night ends a little emptier than it used to. They miss the realness you brought, the edge, the unspoken weight of your presence, and now, all they have is a shadow, a memory. They can try to replace you, but they'll fail. Because what you gave wasn't surface level. It was soul level, and that kind of presence doesn't just fade, so don't question your impact, don't doubt your value. You were never just there, you were felt. You were known, and your absence, it speaks louder than any words ever could, so let them laugh. Let them pretend, just know this, you were the difference, and now that you're gone, everything is just a little less real. They're haunted by your silence, scrolling for your name, realizing too late what they lost. Your peace becomes their punishment, their attempts to replace you fail. They didn't notice it at first, the silence, it came slowly. Like a shadow stretching across their world. No more calls. No more messages. No more pieces of you given to people who didn't know what to do with them, and now, they're haunted by that silence, scrolling. Searching, looking for your name like it's some kind of lifeline, but you're not there. No new posts, no replies, just absence, heavy. Uncomfortable. Unavoidable. They used to think you'd always be around. They took your presence for granted, your loyalty, your patience, your heart. Now they sit with the consequences, and it hits them, too late. They realize what they lost, not just a person, but peace, stability, realness. And now that you're gone, that peace you fought to create for yourself, it becomes their punishment, because they can't reach you, can't disturb you, can't drag you back into the chaos you rose above, so they try to fill the void with distractions, replacements, shallow connections. But it doesn't work, because no one carries what you carried, no one brings the weight you brought. They'll keep trying, keep pretending, but deep down, they know, they didn't lose you by accident, they lost you by choice, by neglect, by thinking you wouldn't walk away. And now, they sit in the silence they created, while you rise in the peace you earned. Let them scroll. Let them regret, you're not coming back, because your silence isn't just quiet, it's power, and they'll hear it, every single day. Your silence isn't weakness, it's clarity, healing, and rebirth. You reclaim your energy, focus, and self-worth. The tone is calm, strong, and introspective, perfect for a motivational video with a powerful comeback theme. Your silence isn't a weakness, it's not retreat, it's not surrender, it's not you giving up, it's you waking up. In a world that rewards noise, ego, and constant validation, silence becomes the rarest kind of power, because silence isn't empty, it's full of answers. Full of healing. Full of everything they tried to distract you from, you pulled back, not because you couldn't handle the pressure, but because you were done wasting your strength. You got tired of pouring into places that never poured back, tired of proving your worth to people who were never ready to see it, tired of being available for everyone but yourself. So you went quiet, not to disappear, but to rebuild, to gather the broken pieces. To remember who you are when no one's watching, to find peace in your own presence. Your silence is your sanctuary. It's where you regain your energy, the energy they drained with their drama, their expectations, their chaos. It's where your focus sharpens, no more distractions, no more noise, and most of all, it's where your self-worth is reborn, no longer defined by how much you give, how much you endure, or how much they approve. They may not understand it. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you're distant. But that's only because they can't reach you the way they used to. You're not available like before. You're not accessible to chaos. Because now, your time, your peace, your energy, it's earned, not taken. So don't let anyone make you feel small for choosing silence. It's not the absence of strength. It's the beginning of true power. You're not breaking down. You're breaking free. And that silence, that's the sound of you coming back to life. Your silence isn't a pause, it's a verdict. They realize it's permanent. Indifference is colder than hate, it means you're free. Your silence isn't a pause, it's not a waiting room, it's not a chapter break where they expect the next scene to still include them. It's a verdict, final, clear, unapologetic, and when they finally realize it's permanent, that there's no explanation coming, no dramatic return, no moment where you lower yourself to prove your worth again, that's when it hits them. See, they expected anger. They expected a reaction. Because anger still cares, hate still feels, but you gave them nothing, no outburst, no closure, just silence, absolute and unmoved, and that silence, that's the loudest message they've ever heard, because indifference, it's colder than hate. Hate still keeps you in the loop, still gives them power, but indifference, it means they're irrelevant now. It means you're done wasting energy on people who drained you, disrespected you, and thought you'd never walk away. They'll tell stories, they'll twist the truth, they'll paint you as the one who turned cold, but they'll never admit what led to your silence. They'll never admit how many chances they wasted. How many times they pushed, hoping you'd break, how often they played games thinking you'd always play along. But now, the game's over. You don't hate them. You don't love them, you just don't care. That's the real punishment, not revenge, not spite, just peace, because silence isn't weakness, it's freedom. And now they know, you're not coming back, you're not holding the door open, you're not waiting to be understood, you're gone, and they're just now hearing the echo of a goodbye that was never said, but always felt. Your silence becomes a mirror, showing them what they destroyed. You evolved beyond their reach, thriving while they rot in regret. Your silence, it's not just absence, it's a mirror, a reflection they can't escape, a quiet truth louder than any confrontation. They stare into the void where your voice used to be, and all they see is themselves, the damage, the disrespect, the decisions they thought they'd never have to answer for. They thought you'd break, thought you'd come crawling back, begging to be seen, to be heard, to be chosen, but instead, you went silent. You walked away without a scene, without a fight, without looking back, and that silence, it forced them to face what they never had the courage to admit. They destroyed something real. Something rare, something that will never come again. Now, they rot in the echo of what could have been, trying to fill the emptiness with replacements, distractions, illusions. But nothing fits, because nothing can recreate what they threw away. Meanwhile, you evolved, beyond their chaos, beyond their reach, beyond the version of you that tolerated their games. You stopped explaining, stopped proving, stopped bleeding for people who never learned to value your wounds. You chose growth, peace, elevation, and now, while they drown in regret, you rise, silently, powerfully, unapologetically, you don't need revenge, you don't need closure, your success. Your healing, your distance, that's the justice, because nothing punishes them more than watching you thrive in a life where their name holds no weight. You became untouchable, and they became a lesson. Your silence showed them exactly what they lost, and exactly what they'll never get back.